gentlemen, are you ready?
All right. So SQL is kind of a course which has kind of very big overlap between the things which you will learn on data analytics and on your full stack development, right? SQL is same for both of them, right? For data analytics, SQL is the most important thing out there. Okay. If you are working with the data part, you should know SQL thoroughly. For full stack, SQL is kind of a second priority. So for data analytics, it is the first priority. That is the first thing which you should be very good at, right? Then the other things you should keep on learning, like let's say Power BI, Excel, Python, maybe, or all these things, right? For full stack, your one coding language is the most important thing. So be it Java, be it Python, be it C, C++, C Sharp, or whatever language which you want to learn. And nowadays people also learn Python, and that is also fine. That is the first priority. The second priority becomes your SQL. Okay, because then you should be handling the databases also. So we'll talk about what is database, all these things afterwards. But I just want to tell you the priority-wise basis. If given a chance, full stack developers should learn one language properly first, and then they should start learning SQL. I mean, it's not like after one you should learn, but you should have more knowledge about your programming language. And SQL is kind of a build-up course. That means, so some courses like your Excel, right? You can attend it from in the middle also, in the starting also, and the ending also. Nothing is like attached to any of the other days. In your SQL, the first day whatever you learn, you will apply on the second day. The second day whatever you will learn, you will apply on the third day, right? So it's very important that you don't miss any class, right? We can take revision classes if you think we are not comfortable in any of the topics. We can take revision classes also. That is absolutely fine. But you should not miss any class. Any topic which is not clear, you might think that okay, this is the only topic which is not clear, but that topic is connected with other topics also. So then the other topic is also will not be clear, right? But that point only tell me, and I'll give you more and more examples. There are so many examples which we can take in your SQL, right? SQL is such a topic. Okay. If you are thinking that you can buy heart or you can memorize anything in your SQL, that is probably not the good thing, right? Why? Because in your SQL, in your interviews, nothing will be theory. Only maybe let's say 5 minutes of your theory questions will be there, right? While as in your Power BI, maybe I think 90 or 80 to 90% of the things are theory, right? So you can memorize all the stuff, good answers, and then you can tell it, right? In your SQL, 5 to 10% will be theory. Afterwards, everything is coding, right? They will ask you a question. They will tell you to open the notepad. They won't even tell you to open the software, right? They will tell you to open the notepad and then just write it. Right? They might tell you to open the Excel and then write the SQL code, right? Whatever the question is. That means there can be so many questions which can be formed. If the practical questions are there, right, there can be so many questions which can be formed. Almost infinite number of questions can be formed. I'll tell you how the questions are formed, right? That's why it is very easy to take SQL interviews, very hard to give SQL interview. So as a person who is giving SQL interview, it's hard for you guys because you cannot predict what is the question which is going to be asked. Okay. If you don't know the concept, then it is gone. You cannot memorize which question will be asked. Okay. So for me, to take interview in your SQL, it's very easy. To take interview in the Power BI, it's very hard because whatever question I will ask, that person already know that question and he will just answer it because he has memorized it. Right? In your SQL, it cannot happen like that. Okay. So focus on concepts, focus on the different types of questions which can be formed, and we'll focus on so many questions. The whole course is on questions and questions only. Right? We'll be solving so many 200, 300 questions. I think we have. We'll solve those questions every day. Okay. But first week, at least, it will be just basic building. Okay. Software which we will be downloading MySQL software. You can download many other software also. MS SQL also we can download. Postgre also we can download. But we will be downloading MySQL because first, it is very easy to install. Okay. Second, it will also be installed in MacBook. So any rich people here, like who have MacBook? No? Okay, good. So by the way, MS SQL, which is Microsoft SQL, can only work in Windows laptop. You won't be able to use it in MacBook. But MySQL, it is like universal, so you can use it in MacBook also. But it is very, very simple to install. But when we will be installing it after 1 week. And why? Because today you guys are here. Tomorrow, many more new people will come. Day after tomorrow, again, new people will come. So we cannot just keep on installing that software every day, right? After 1 week, I think people will saturate. Many people might leave also, right? So after 1 week, we will install our software. Until then, what we will do? So we'll use the online software, right? We don't have to download anything. We don't, this website is there. We'll just open that website and then start learning it. Okay. So that is good because why? Because in the first class, if you start installing anything, right, you don't know what is SQL and you're installing something, you get overwhelmed, right? You think it is very difficult. Nothing is difficult in your SQL. It's very, very easy things. The advanced part comes, but that is for like the people who have experience in your SQL. For freshers, almost all of you guys are freshers, right? Anyone here has experience also? 2 years of experience, something like that? No, right? There, 2 years of experience. It is like whole and the level of your SQL. It might be a little bit difficult also. Okay. All right. So what we will do? Okay. Before again we'll start. Let's focus on, let's say, this first. Okay. So before every class, at least for 1 week, I'll start with some of the memes which are out there because this is Gen Z, right? But this post is for millennials, which is like for our age. You guys know what is Star Wars movies or no? At least you would have heard the name. You would not have watched it because now to Marvel, Endgame, all these things come, right? Earlier, not in my age, at least my previous generation, at least they used to watch Star Wars, right? It was a very famous movie. And there is this scene. Let's not go in the scenes, but let's say this person is saying, I finished an SQL course, right? The front person is saying, but are you able to crack SQL interviews? Then this person do not have any answer, right? So that is the problem which you should not be in, okay? Cracking interviews and finishing the course are two different things. You can finish the SQL course, right? If the teacher or the instructor is smart enough, right? So the things which we are learning in the first week, I can extend it and I can teach you that in 1 month also, right? So only basic things will take basic examples, everything basics. Full 1 month I will occupy in teaching you basic things. After learning those basic things, you will think you will know everything in your SQL. Your ego will be boosted, right? And then you will go home thinking that you know everything in your SQL. When you will hit the realization is after 3 or 4 months when you're giving your interviews and then the questions are coming and you have no idea about what it is, right? Then you will realize, okay, the course was not good. Okay, and that is very late. I might not be even in Bangalore, right, at that time. So as an instructor, it is very easy to teach SQL, the basics part, right? But the intermediary part or the advanced parts which are out there, that is somewhat difficult to teach also, right? If you are not from the programming language background. So it is not just the instructor, it is your responsibility also that you also go home and see what are the topics which are there in your SQL, not just in SQL, right? Let's say Java you're learning, or let's say you're learning Python or HTML or front end, whatever. It is your responsibility. You should also do the secondary research. What are the topics? Is instructor teaching everything or not? Right? If there is something which you want to know, which is instructor is not teaching, you ask that question in the class, right? This course specifically covers everything which is there in your SQL. Okay, maybe few things, but which will not be covered because they are not asked in your interviews. That is it, right? Those are now old. But it will cover almost 90 to 95% of everything in your SQL. Okay. But still, do not take me for granted, right? You also go home and see what are the things which are there. The whole point of covering this course is to be capable of cracking the interview, not just finishing the course and taking the certificate. The certificate will not have any value if you do not know how to answer it, right? So there will be times where the things will be hard, right? it might feel difficult, right? But that is there for a purpose, right? If everything was very easy, everyone will be able to do it. What will happen if, let's say, the interviews or the topics which are there, or things which you're learning are very easy? Everyone will be able to learn that, and suddenly the competition will rise. Your resume will not get shortlisted anywhere because everyone has written SQL in their resume, right? The things which are very hard, right? Not everyone will be able to learn. Not everyone will write in their resume, right? Suddenly the competition will decrease. So always try to learn the things which are hard. The things which are very easy, anyone will be able to learn it, right? You will be able to learn it anyways, right? So whenever it is getting hard, always think in that there is an opportunity that only you will be able to learn it. If you're not able to learn it, tell me, we'll revise those sessions, right? But after a certain point, you will be able to learn it. And that is where the gap will come between the people who do not know SQL and the people who know SQL, right? By the way, in everyone learns the basic SQL and then writes it in the resume that they know the advanced part also, right? Everyone is an SQL expert, but only once it comes to the interview, then we'll get to know about it, right? So it's kind of a thing which you have to deal with it. Even the people who know very basic SQL, their resume might get shortlisted. Even if you know the advanced part of your SQL, your resume might not get shortlisted because the way the resume has been, right? So that is fine, but ultimately, the whoever is going to get selected in the interview are the people who know SQL properly. Okay, right. With this, let's focus on the things which we will be learning. I'll be opening a couple of websites. The first website, okay, not this website at least. So let's focus on the topics first. Okay, these are the different types of commands. Basically, these are all the topics which we will be learning one by one. TDL, DML, TCL, DQL, and DCL. I mean, there are full forms of them also. In this whole these things, the 80% of your interviews will be asked from your DQL part, data query language, which we say. Right? It says only one thing in your select, but this is the main part of your SQL in the terms of your interview purpose, right? DQL. So for the first week, we will be learning the DQL basics. Okay. Once we have learned the DQL basics, then we will learn DDL. So this DDL, DML, TCL, and DCL, these will be learned in one day. There's nothing complicated in them. It's very easy. 1 or 2 days maybe. So DDL, DML, TCL, DCL, maybe like 5 days we'll be able to cover everything, right? And this one will be occupying at least 70 to 80% of our course timing. Okay. The second and third week, everything is based on your DQL, right? Advanced part again, DQL. Okay. All the other things are very easy. So we'll learn them. We'll learn everything, but I'm just telling you in the terms of your interviews, what is the most important thing, because it is DQL. And by the way, you can learn SQL from left to right, right to left, whichever part you want to learn. But because DQL is most important thing, we'll start learning from your DQL only. Okay. So it says DQL. Now I'll be opening W3 schools first. I think this is something which is a very common website to learn something which is very basic. W3 SQL, this is only for the basic part. And once we are completed with the basic, then we'll not be covering anything from here. So W3 schools is one website. There is one more website which will say SQL program is. Okay, online SQL editor. Program is the website. Right, we'll come to this website once we start writing the code. So today is not the time which we'll be writing the code. Maybe from tomorrow onwards, we'll start writing the code also. Today, we are just learning the theory part, which is the very rare case scenario, right? After today, there won't be any theory classes, only practical classes. So this is the place where we'll be writing the code. I think this gray area is the place where we'll write the code. This is our tables, all these things. I'll talk to you about them maybe today, end of the class, or maybe tomorrow. But let's learn what is SQL. Let's go SQL intro. Okay. SQL, it says SQL stands for Structured Query Language. So everyone know what is structure. Everyone know what is language also. What is query? Query means a question, right? You are asking a question in a structured manner. Structured query language, you are asking some question in a structured manner, but you are asking to whom, right? You are asking that question to your database. Now, what is database? Now, database is something which has data in it, right? Now, data can be in the form of your tables, your pictures, your videos, anything can be there, right? In your data world, in your SQL world, the data is in the form of your tables. Everyone know what is table at least, right? Table which has columns and rows, right? That is your table. Not this table, right? So tables. Okay, so you are asking some questions to your database, and the database has tables. So your database will answer you in the form of tables only. Okay, so whatever question is you are asking, the answer will be in the table format. Okay. What SQL does? SQL lets you access and manipulate databases, right? So whatever you can think about your data, you want to add data, you want to delete data, add column, remove column, transform your data, pivot, unpivot, delete some rows, right? Anything which you want to do with your data, your SQL is the best thing to do it. Okay. So we'll learn about how it is very difficult to do the same thing in your Python or Excel. It is very easy to do the things which is in your SQL. Okay. Anything which you can imagine to do with the data, you can do it very easily in few lines, few words here and there, and then you will be able to write it. The programming language, which is SQL, it's very English oriented also. You will be able to read it also, unlike your Java or Python, something like this. It's very hard to read, at least in the human format, right? In SQL, it is very English readable format. It also says SQL became a standard of American National Standard Institute, right? There are lots of standards which are written in here, right? What is standard? So I'll give you an example. So everyone has, let's say, mobile phones, right? Some of you guys might have, like, let's say, MI, some of your Motorola phone, OnePlus, Nothing phones, Google Pixel, all those things, right? So the Android software is released by your Google. Okay. The software, that particular software, if a company takes the software and releases as it is to the retail customer, it is known as stock Android. Okay. So Google Pixel has stock Android, right? Motorola phones, OnePlus, all these mobile have stock Android. If you just see the software, you won't be able to identify which mobile it is, because everything, every icon, everything will feel the same, right? But let's say if I give you Samsung mobiles, just by looking at the interface, you will be able to identify whether it is a Samsung, because the camera icon will be different, right? Only unique to Samsung, right? So MI phones, if I give you, you will be able to identify whether this is an MI phone or not, like just by looking at some of the icons which are there. What is happening in here? If the software is so some standard is set by your Google that this is the software, this is something which you should run on your mobiles, right? So different companies takes it. For example, Motorola companies, OnePlus company, they takes it and then they publish it to the retail user as it is, and no changes. That is named as standard, like stock Android, right? Some companies takes that, for example, Samsung and MI, and then they put their own layer on the top of it, right? They change few things here and there, right? But the actual software is same. On the top of that, they do some modification, right? And that is still a standard, but on a modified version, right? Same thing happen in your SQL also. The standards are being set by your American National Standard Institute. That is, for example, let's say Google, right? But ANSI, which we say, right? They set up the standard that this is how your SQL should look like. These are the keywords which should be there in each and every SQL. Okay. Now, different companies takes it. For example, Microsoft, Snowflake, Postgre, MySQL. MySQL is owned by now Oracle, right? So different companies takes it up, and then they modifies a little bit things here and there, right? But the most of the things will remain the same. 90 to 95% of the things will remain same. Few things will be different. What are the things which will be different? So let's say there will be one function in your Microsoft SQL. Microsoft SQL is MS SQL, right? And we are learning MySQL. We'll be learning MySQL. So MS SQL, there will be one function which is named as ABC. It will be doing something. In your MySQL, there is no function ABC. There will be some function which will be named as XYZ. But that also will be doing the same thing which the ABC is also doing. Okay. So different functions names will be there, but main things will be same across the different software. So one way to learn your SQL is learn each and every software, MS SQL, Snowflake, Postgres, Snowflake, everything, right? You'll be learning the same thing again and again. There's no point. Or you learn just the standard, right? Once you learn the standard, you will be able to learn any one of the software within 1 or 2 days, right? And that is what happens. So I earlier used to teach MS SQL in here, but then I realized it is very hard to install. Plus, some of you guys might have MacBook also. What I did, so in my company also we use MS SQL. We don't use MySQL much. So what I did, I went home, installed MySQL, spent 1 or 2 days, and then the next day I started teaching MySQL also because all the things are same, right? Just the software buttons here and there will be different color here and there will be there. But writing part of your SQL will always be same. Okay, few things will be different. So always focus on learning the standard. Softwares as such do not matter, right? So if you want to learn MS SQL, you feel free to learn MS SQL. I'll be teaching MySQL, right? But whatever I'm writing, you also will be writing that only in MS SQL also. Okay, we all already talked about what can SQL do. So there are so many things which your SQL can do. You don't know for now stored procedure views. There are different words which we'll discuss later on. But there are so many other things also. Okay. So I'll open Excel. Let me take a seat. Okay, we have 15 minutes or so. So let's say this DQL part, right? It says select something in here. DQL stands for data query language, by the way. Is data query language. Okay. Now it says the first thing is select. Now DQL has only one thing, which is select, but the select has so many other things also in it. So these are known as commands, different commands. 5 commands are there. Select is a command, but now it has many more things inside it, which are named as clauses. Clauses, okay. Now there are multiple things. I'll just write them out. Select, from, join, where, group by, having, group by, and limit. Okay. These are the different things which constitutes of your DQL and 80% of your interviews also. So if you are very good at all of these things, you'll be able to crack your interviews, by the way. Okay. So 1 or 2 questions, you can miss it out also, but almost all the questions will be coming from here. Now, this is known as order of writing. I mean, there's nothing really something which is known as order of writing, but this is a standard, which is you have to follow this order of writing. That means once you write your select, I will go through one by one, each one of them, what they mean. This 1 week, first 1 week, we'll talk about all of these things in here, right? Monday to Friday. So today is Monday. Until Friday, we'll discuss about all of these things one by one every day. Right? So tomorrow, let's say this, 1 day join, 1 day where, 1 day group by having, and 1 day this. So 5 days will complete this. Only the basics part. What does this say? That only once you write your select, then only you can write from, and then only you can write join. You can skip few things here and there. Let's say you can write from, You can skip join, and then you can write where. You can skip group by having. You can write order by. You can skip limit, but you have to write it in this same order. Okay. You cannot say select from where and then join. Okay. That is not allowed. Only the same order will be there. This is the order of writing. This will have to always follow. Right. And this will come once we start solving more and more questions. You will just by heart every time. Okay. But then there is one thing which is very commonly asked in your interview, which is what is order of execution. Right? What is order of execution? So although you're writing it in this order, but your SQL is reading it in some other order. Okay. And that order is, I'll just write it out. Okay. Although you have written it in this order, SQL will not execute the select part first. It will execute the from part first. What is from all these things? It's fine that you don't know anything about it for now. I'm just telling you a few things so that we can get started, right? So SQL will go and read whatever you have written inside the from. So you will be writing some things inside your select. You'll be writing some things inside here. You will be writing here, things here and here, right? So whatever you have written inside your from, that will be read first. And then your join, where, group by, having, and then finally your select will be run. And then order by and limit. Okay. Now let's start learning about each one of them. So this is the order of execution. This is very frequently asked. I mean, this should be taught in the very first class itself, because this is something which is applicable to everything which you are writing. Any piece of code which you will write, this is something which is applicable. If SQL is reading it in this order, you should also be reading it in this order only. Okay. Okay. So let's learn about the first thing in here. Let's see if we can learn about something. Select. You can select some existing columns, or you can create any columns. What does it mean? Right. So let's say I'll go here in the website online SQL editor. Let's focus on what are the things which we have. You can ignore the left part in here. We'll focus this once we are in the intermediate class, but for now you can ignore it. This is the place where we will be writing our codes. It already has written select and from, but we'll be writing from scratch. Okay. This says run SQL. That means whatever, once you have written it, then you can click on run SQL and you will get the answer. These are the tables which are already there. You don't have to create it. And that is why we are learning the online SQL software first, because you don't have to create anything, right? You can just get started directly. You have 3 tables in here. One is your customers table, which has 5 columns, 5 rows: customer ID, first name, last name, age, and country, right? We have 2 more tables also, but we'll focus them later on. Just focus on the first table, right? What are the types of questions which we are going to be asked? So by the way, all of these things, you already know it, right? You just don't know how to write it, but you already know. So let's say if I ask you this question, how many customers, so let's say these are customers, right? 5 customers. How many customers are there in USA country? 2, right? So this is the only question which you have to ask SQL, right? But how to write it, how to ask it, that is something which you have to learn, right? And by the way, whatever question which I have asked, like what are the how many customers are there in the USA country, that is something which is your where clause will be doing. Okay, you don't know what is where, but you already know it. You just don't know how to write it. Okay, everything in here you already know it. It's just that different in different English or in different terminologies, but you don't know just how to write it. Okay, so this is the table which is there, customers table. Once I write my SQL query in this area, and once I run this SQL, my answer will be down in here, output. And answer will also be in the form of your table. Right now, it is in the form of table, 2 columns are there, right? But I have not asked any questions yet. It was already there, right? first thing which you see in here is online SQL editor, something in English which it is written. This will always be there in most of the coding language, be it Java, C, C++, Python. These are known as comments, right? I think in your Python, you comment it by writing hash symbol, and then whatever you write, it will be a part of comment. In your SQL, you will write double dash, and then whatever you write afterwards, it will not have any effect on the code. Everyone knows what is comment, right? So comment is something that whatever you write in here, my first SQL code, right? This will not run. SQL will not read this because double dash are already there in the front of it, meaning that this is a comment. Then why it is needed if it is not read, if it has no effect? Because whatever code which you will be writing down, right? Select from whatever, it might be very complicated, let's say, right? And for today, you understand what is happening in here. But let's say if you open after 1 month, you will not remember what I've written, right? But you can code everything or comment everything, each and every pieces of code. If you come here after 1 month and you read this, my first SQL code, then you will understand, okay, this is the first SQL code which I have written. Okay, something like this. Okay. So double dashes are commenting. Now, the first thing which we are learning is your select. I can write select in capitals. You can write select in small letters also. You can write it in mix and match also, by the way. So I won't suggest that you write something like this. Something like this is also fine, but this is not recommended. Okay. Usually people will write all the keywords in capital letters, all these keywords in capital letters, everything else in small letters. But what does this mean? This means SQL is case insensitive. It does not matter whether you write it in small or capitals, SQL will not have any effect on that. Okay. It's just to read it properly for your own good. You will write all the big keywords in capital letters, all the other things in small letters. Okay. Just by writing select, you have opened yourself as a SQL in compared to your calculator. For example, just by writing select, your SQL can work as a calculator. Although we are not using SQL as a calculator, but if you say 2 plus 2 plus 2, you are asking this question to the database that what is 2 plus 2, right? You are not just putting question mark, but you are always asking that question. So what is 2 plus 2? It's 4. If you run your SQL, you go down, you ask, the question is 2 plus 2, the answer is 4. Okay. The same thing you can do it with multiplication, to multiply by 3. This is star, which is asterisk, which we say, which is at the 8 keyword, right? 8 number keyboard. So 2 into 3, it will give you 6 answer. You will say minus also, this will 2 minus 3, right? You have divide also, 2 divided by 3. By the way, 10 divided by 2, it will give you 5, right? These are simple mathematical operation. There is one more operation which you might not have heard, which is modulus, which is 10 percentage symbol and then 2, right? Let's say, what does this mean? What is the difference between this and this? 10 divided by 2, it is directly 5, right? If I run 10 divided by 2, it is 5. What is percentage? It says what is the remainder after I divide 10 by 2. After dividing 10 by 2, what will be the remainder? 0, right? So 10 modulus 2, run it, and your answer is 0. Okay. This might be the new thing which you would have learned. So let's say if I say 100 modulus 3, what do you think the answer will be? 1, right? Okay. But this is fine. I mean, it is working as a calculator, but you already have a calculator in your mobile. You already have a calculator in your laptops also, right? What is the purpose of learning SQL if you can do all these things? So that is why just select is not written anytime, right? Because we want something to do with your data, which is here. Okay. So it's very rare that you will be writing only just select, because it is just a calculator which you are running. I cannot teach you directly columns and new columns, this part in here, because the first thing which your SQL will read is your from. Okay. So you cannot, SQL will not read the select part first. So it's better to understand what is from first, right? And then I'll come to your select. So what does from takes? From takes your table, or table name, I will say, for now. Right? Just 5 minutes, and then we'll start learning it from tomorrow onward. So it says from will take only table name, right? It will not take two table names. It will not take multiple table name, or only one table name. Okay. And then there are three tables name which we have for now: customers, orders, and shippings. Okay. Any table name you can focus on. For now, we are focusing on your customers table. Right. So if I write select and from both of these things, how would you read it? You will read from select. Okay. You will not read select and from. You will read from select. Okay. Because select is run afterwards, I will write select inside select afterwards only, right? I will just write from part first. Because it will only take only one table, I will write customers in here. I can write customers, order, shippings, any one table. So I'll be writing customers in here. Again, I can write it in capitals also, but then this is not the standard practice which we have. Customers. Make sure you're not writing customer, because the table name is customers. Okay. Yes. You will read it like from customers, select something. Okay. Now it says from table name, select. Select can do two things. It can select the existing columns, or it can select the new column, or it can create the new columns. So for now, let's not create new column. Let's focus only on the first thing, which select column, right? So from this whole table, I just want to select, let's say, the first name, right? So I'll say from customers, select first name. Okay. So from customers, select first name. If I run it, how many rows and how many columns do you think you will have in the final answer? 5 rows will be there, 1 column will be there. Okay. Because 5 rows: John, Robert, David, John, Betty, and 1 column, which is first name. So if I run this, we'll have first name column and John, Robert, David, John, Betty. Right? This is how easy to write your SQL is. And all the other things, tomorrow onwards, we'll learn. Everything is very, very basic. Right? But only one thing which we have covered today is your from. There's nothing else to it. You will only write your table name inside your from. Right? Tomorrow we'll try to complete your where clause. Join, will skip it for one day. Day after tomorrow, we'll start learning your join also. But there is nothing else which you can write it in your from. That is it. After 1 week or after 1 month also, I'll tell you the same thing. This is the only thing which you will be able to write it. There are many more things inside your select. We'll discuss it tomorrow onwards. Today, let it be like this. Tomorrow onwards, we'll learn about your select also. Okay. Anything? And by the way, like any feedback, any suggestions, if you want to give me, just give me like during the class or just after the class, not after the course, because after the course, again, it does not make sense for you, right? The next class will benefit for that, but you should be benefiting it, right? So if you think I'm going very fast, I can slow down. If you think I'm going very slow, I can a little bit faster. But I cannot do one thing, which is decrease the level of difficulty of your questions. The questions which are going to be asked can be hard, right? So that is something which you have to be prepared. The questions can be difficult, but we'll try to understand the concept in as easy as possible. Okay. All right. Any questions? If not, I'll stop the recording.